Another part says, as to the secret of her survival, she told me, I just had to tell my story. Being a natural documentarian where her diary was her release, her pages and pages of records and copious notes all helped her advocate for herself based on the facts of her own case. As for getting off drugs, she comments on the system I know about in which people take prescriptions with very limited informed consent. As for the drugs, she told me, you need to know a lot and you need to be given time to think about it. You need to be given alternatives and you need to know the problems you will face on the drugs. For example, you can develop diabetes with the newer antipsychotics, but nobody is typically informed of this or really understands what the full ramifications are of getting a new disease, hence iatrogenic illness. The drugs, she says, are complicating things immeasurably because the doctors don't see the side effects or underestimate their effects on one's day-to-day living. Most people might not know that stopping many psychiatric drugs involves a withdrawal effect, which can make them terribly ill. So the event for this book was September 14th, which has already passed, unfortunately. And yeah, this reminds me of me because I've somewhat meticulously documented things in the form of video. Somebody today asked me if I was a model and said that I should model, and here is somebody modeling. So it's kind of strange, the synchronicities. So yeah, it's kind of interesting that there's this article written about this book of this woman's 30 years. I couldn't imagine 30 years. 6 years for me was enough. I don't know how people survive all of that. Most people don't. Most people never get out of something like that. It's amazing that she got out of it. People get lost in the mental patient maze. Mental health is amazing. It makes people lost in a maze that is full of, that is being in a daze. Eat my light. And another thing is that I'm trying to get it so I can post my videos on my website privately, and the admin guy, the helpy guy is like, why would you want so many videos on a page? I can't understand, user experience, blah blah blah. And I feel like being like, I'm doing something weird and crazy, okay? I'm putting all my videos on as few pages as possible so it's less work creating a million pages, and scheduling it for another date and time. So that way it will be released if anything crazy happens. It's not about user experience, it's about a content supernova. Yeah, most people don't create 450 videos and share them in one go, but I sometimes feel like when I post them and schedule them, that will mean the universe can kind of do away with me because whatever. Or I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure, universe. Maybe I should just ask the universe. Universe, why do you have these people slapping their asses and stuff all around me right now? What is going on? Is this some kind of joke, like the red pepper? You know what I'm talking about? I just heard a hummingbird. And I'm sitting here to avoid traffic, but there's horns and noise and traffic everywhere. It's just awful. People playing their leisurely games while other people starve. Meanwhile, I stuff myself. And I continue to sit here and talk to myself. And that's the thing that I was getting a sense of in my heart was, get off your ass and do something this next month before that class starts. Do something. I don't know what. But then maybe this is doing something. I don't know. It feels like a struggle to get through the day, but it doesn't at the same time. And maybe this is the stage of not doing anything and being okay with it, because I was doing a lot. Just sit and be home less. Not wanting to be indoors, not wanting to be inside, not wanting to be home. Figuring out this non-self algorithm without feeling like too much of a homeless person. Because perhaps people that lose that self-functioning will, motivation, all of that, we end up homeless. But what else is there besides that? When there's not that will of the me. Maybe we feel homeless and the whole universe is ours. I'm making stuff up right now. I really don't know. I'm just wondering if I can inquire as this state, and it'll probably sound really nonsensical because it's not like something I wrote down to talk about later. I'm talking about that sense now. As that sense. The sense of not wanting to move. Not being so able to move. Sometimes when I get to the end of that creative energy, it feels like punishment when it runs out. And can I not let those memes come in like, you were bad, or you made a wrong move, or too many wrong moves, or this is your punishment, now you can't move. Maybe it's part of the integration. Can I not bring fear into this? Maybe it's something else other than fear, other than something fearful. There's something about bearing witness to this, and I talked myself out of the mental health system, but in doing so, I've talked myself into being in contact with this new state of needing to be sensitive and get to know each moment. So talking myself through this, as this, and having a witness, which again is my impartial iPhone, to listen. And it feels like, okay, well, I talked myself out of the mental health system. Now what is there to say? Maybe there's nothing there to talk about. I definitely feel more sensitive. I feel like I can feel people's internal states again. Or it's all one movement that has nothing to do with me, so then the sensitivity is to everything and anything. And I'm not sure if this will be a temporary couple of week thing. I'm going to assume it'll be about 2 weeks, or maybe only a few days, Because when I've gone into so-called psychosis before, generally it lasts a few days. And this doesn't feel like that, but it feels like I don't know, but I've said things about how one can feel like I'm seeing more, I'm feeling more, and then that'll turn into so-called hallucinations and delusions when one doesn't have someone to listen and when people aren't listening. So people don't have to listen if I talk to myself on video, because I'm listening to myself, saying these things to myself. And they feel like lower states of consciousness. And yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. But can I keep moving and pretend I'm not confused and pretend I'm fine? And I am fine. I feel fine. It just feels strange. It feels less predictable. Hence, it's easier to stay somewhere predictable, like sitting there. Not sure. I do want to go to a store to try and find some warmer boots and some gloves so I can be outside more. Something about wanting to be outside. Yet it's only going to get colder. And this woman says in the article, she admitted to her very helpful psychologist that psychiatry may have harmed me. Well, less and less of us are going to put up with that kind of crap, that's for sure.